Hey, this is Joe from Broken Paintbrush. I'm here this week to do an unboxing of the Orruk Megaboss. I picked this guy up to do a new Warboss for my 40k orcs, but I figured I'd do a quick unboxing for anyone who is interested in seeing what's inside this guy. First of all, here is the top front cover. It also doubles as an instruction book. One of the things to note about this instruction book is that you see there's now color keys added in what Games Workshop is putting out for color or for instructions. So you see, they add in some yellow of where to actually put the glue and where the pieces connect. That's super helpful because as you see in some of these pieces, they're pretty crazy in how they connect. So adding a little bit of touch in there, it makes a huge difference. We'll get into that. Other thing you can see is he's pretty straightforward to build. Other than some crazy pieces, you just put the legs together, build up the torso, and he's good to go. So, looking at the sprues, as most of the clan packs now on the Berry Eyes, he comes in two pieces, two different sprues, and a base. Not quite Dreadnought size, but it's clearly much bigger than any other 40k character base. So, that right there shows you he's a pretty big beast. So let's look at some of the sprue pieces here. So first off, we're going to look at some of just the massive scale of this guy. Even his axe is bigger than most characters are. There's his back. You can see there's part of that dragon skull that's on one shoulder. His chest piece and neck. The other sprue has his other hand, his legs, and his front armor piece, and then his pretty gnarly face there too. Zoom in on. So one of the things I like about him is that the front piece is a multi-layer, kind of true three-dimensional piece. So you got this front armor piece with this big metal jaw and a front chest piece. On this sprue here is the rest of the chest, but then the neck and then the tongue is actually this little piece sticking out, which you can see his face, his open mouth, and sticks right above that. And so with just a few pieces like that, he really creates a multi-layer cool pose there. Now the other thing I like about this for conversion, and we'll get into this in part 2 with what I'm looking at for doing a 40k model, is that the hands are clear, or have a clean cut between the actual hand piece and the rest of the arm. There's just a straight line there, which will make it much easier to do some conversions. And on the body, you see it's just a flat piece where both wrists connect. So that'll make it real nice to do hand swaps. The head would be a little more complicated because of that multi-layer thing, but if you didn't like this head, it wouldn't be that much difficult to drill this in, cut it back, and do some green stuff to put a different orc head on there. If you're trying to change the pose of the legs, that might be a little more difficult, as you see the legs here are pretty fixed. You might be able to hack it at the knee a little bit and bring it in, but all these little armor plates in there will make it a little more difficult. So I'm going to pause it, clip them out, putty them together, and show you what it might look like put together. Alright, so as I'm starting to glue this guy together, I want to pause real quick and highlight this really fiddly bit right here. This is the front piece, the neck, the groin plate, and come back to the instructions here. See there's highlighted yellow along here, here, up in here. We got the back, top back piece still to add, but we really want to look at this because even with this nice little coloring in, it's not exactly intuitive, so I want to pause and just highlight this for anyone else that ends up wanting to build this guy. This right here is the edge of the front of the piece, and you can see it's not flush, it's actually sticking out. You can see a little boost, so goobing up. But this lines up there, this lines up here, and again, this sticks out. So it's not exactly flush, though it looks like it fits in. It took a little bit of prying this way and that to get it to actually fit back in. It actually connects, this is part of the back right here, and this is part of the front, so there's a glue seam right in there that is also good to be aware of. So just wanted to put that out there for anyone else that's going to glue this guy together. But as you can see, it's already starting to bulk up. You can start to see some of the multi-layers and the weird pieces. Because without the top piece, it's got this weird looking gap back here, but you can see that these parts were each of the legs, and then this is the back, and there's actually a little belt in there that's part of the back pieces, so it adds some of that 3D layering in there. Okay, going back to gluing. Alright, so now that I've spent the last few minutes gluing together the main body portion, this Warboss now fits together pretty well. He's pretty solid, pretty beefy. So the rest of it I can go back to doing the putty just to be able to hold him in place. Alright, so pause here for a minute. So I added the top back plate and the front plate. Again, you can see the multi-layer. I don't have his head in there. I'm going to pop that in real quick. So you can see with his head in there, with the neck, this big jaw, while it's cool looking, is definitely going to cause issues with painting the inside of him. Same thing with the inside of the skull here. It overlaps. There's openings into the bottom of the armor plate there. You know, paint all that black if you want, but if you're a perfectionist, that may be some difficulty of getting in there. Many of these models, like you saw, I put the head in there last minute. You could keep the head separate, paint that separately. Problem is with the rest of these pieces though, you can't take off this top piece because it overlaps with this. So it's kind of one of those things that you can paint it separately and then figure out how to fill in these gaps here and along the skull later. Without the putty, obviously it would fit a little tighter. But if you want to have that nice smooth before painting, you have to glue them on. Same thing with the back armor here. You can see it's supposed to be a single panel if it's in there tight. So it looks like it's supposed to be that beaten iron armor plate with these seams that actually just ridges like these ones. So you want to glue it in there, soften it up a bit to make it look seamless, but that's going to make it difficult to paint those insides. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'll definitely keep the head separate, paint him separately, and just maybe deal with the rest as it goes. Alright, now that I've putted all the main pieces, there's a few detail pieces still on the sprue, but I won't get to those right now. You can see there's a piece missing there, piece missing there of armor plates. There's a few accessories I'll show in a second, but see, he is a pretty massive, very three-dimensional. He goes back, he turns. He's very large orc. In fact, here I've got the Assault on Black Reach orc from the 40k set. You can see him next to him that he just completely, head and shoulders above him. You can see his axe is in fact taller than the Black Reach orc just by itself. So doing conversions on him will be a little tricky because the bits will have to be scaled appropriately. Now that he's kind of ready for his base there, what are the missing bits that are on here still? Obviously, that's one of the side of his shin. There's this necklace of skulls that's supposed to go underneath his head area. There's the other side panel. And the last bit that is missing is this demon skull here that's supposed to go on the other shoulder pad. One thing to note is that it doesn't need to be there. You can see that there's nothing being covered, nothing missing per se on that shoulder. So if you don't like it, you don't need to put that one there. If you don't like this dragon skull, that's going to take a little bit more work. So obviously it's pretty well incorporated into that shoulder pad, but it's only on that shoulder pad. So if you scraped it off, you just look at this shoulder pad as an example of what it needs to be in. As you can see with these iron jaws, they're supposed to be little hard beaten metal plates. And so if cleaning this off leaves a little bit of chunks, gaps, it wouldn't be the end of the world to put those back on. Overall, I am very impressed with the model, the details, the cool little features, like the chainmail hanging down underneath, the armor plates, just kind of the cool little pieces, the way the hands attach. It's a really exciting model, and I'm excited for what they're doing here. Hopefully comes back into the 40k orcs as well. So that's the unboxing of this Orruk Megaboss. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I was able to show some of the fiddly bits and get you a sense of what he looks like outside the sprue.